Okay, so maybe I'll just briefly recap some of the things we've been doing, and then I'm going to talk about the more facilitation coaching side today. All right, you've probably seen these beautiful slides before. I'm going to go pretty quick because most of you have seen this before, but this will just get everyone on the same page. My life, your life, costs of boundaries. So we understand there's quite a big cost in a number of areas to having poor boundaries. You are conditioned to have poor boundaries, almost certainly. Some of you culturally, on top of your familial conditioning and any trauma you have. We say it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility. We're not doing therapy today, okay? So I'm a coach. I train coaches. So if you're here to cry about your bad childhood, you are in the wrong place. Key insights we're looking at. So really firming up that right to have a boundary, which people forget, myself included sometimes. Yeah. Also, these key insights. There's no getting out of this because actually every time you make a choice, you're saying no, and you're always making a choice. There's no getting out of boundaries. It's just simply, is it conscious or unconscious? You can't make everyone love you, right? So getting rid of the bullshit that you just say yes to everyone, then they love you. They don't even know who you are if you just say yes to everyone. Basic methods we work with: embodied awareness, noticing that feeling of no in the body, which takes some practice for some people. They override that. And then also, if not as good, but still workable, is afterwards noticing if there's resentment or exhaustion. There's a few others, but they're the main ones. Self-esteem we looked at. Bad habits. So actually, this is really helpful, like clocking the bad habits around no. I have teaching this. I keep hearing people like apologizing a lot, for example, or saying things like maybe and, like not actually saying no. So yeah, looking at all these as habits. Habits can be changed. I'm very much in the learning paradigm, not the healing paradigm. So again, more habits, more things to avoid. Saying that later is good if it's specific and conscious, but not if it's a no in disguise, right? The same as actually, acknowledging some responsibility, avoiding can'ts, various other versions of this that are sort of soft no's, which may be okay if we're working with considerate people, but often not helpful. So what we suggested, the pause, this is our primary tool. If you learn nothing, learn this. So it's where you pause, so you have time for your feelings and what you actually want to catch up, where you delay that decision making, because often delaying it is easier than saying no. That still could be stressful and take practice if someone's pressuring you, for example, but it's usually a little bit easier. So best to have something like as a step in the right direction, because that means you're keeping your option open later. Once you've said yes, you can go back and then say, I changed my mind, but there's a cost to that, right? There is a cost to that. Talked about embodiment. You can also say the word no, but can you embody a no? This is no pose from our embodied toolkit system. There are videos of me coaching people in person, various descriptions online. If you put in no pose Mark Walsh into YouTube, various videos of this will come up describing how to do it. This is probably like the one thing I do with nearly all my clients that have boundary issues. I just don't see a reason why I wouldn't teach them this post. Yeah. That's the fuck you warrior no. There's a version of it. Sorry for the obscenities. You know what's funny? As I always used to say, I'd do so much better on social media if I was like a hot girl in a bikini. Yeah. And then I went to Bali and I said that to my then wife, and she said, why don't we do a photo shoot with you in a bikini? And I was like, okay, I am ridiculous enough to make that happen. And I am on holiday, so fuck it, let's do it. It was literally my most liked ever Instagram post. And I was like, literally, even as a joke, it still worked. However, if you don't want to see my naked body and you just want some useful little tips and tricks, follow my Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, podcast. Take your pick. Not everyone does all of them. In fact, if you do all of them, you're a bit of an odd person. But I'd say pick one. Pick one if you want to keep the learning ongoing. You don't have any money for our courses. Pick one of those 4 things. We do all 4. Okay. The other embodied things, learning to feel your response, and then embodying a clear no. This is basically it. This is the main thing we teach, but it takes practice. There's a reason we do 8-week groups, I keep saying, is because it's not something you learn overnight. Like, think how long it took for you to condition to say yes all the time. If we can fix that in 8 weeks, that's great. And actually 6 to 8 weeks is pretty normal. Rehab is 90 days. Why is rehab 90 days? Anyone know? Because it's basically a habit. Addiction's a habit, right? Rehab's a pretty hardcore thing though, right? Like a heroin addiction or something. 60 days is solid. 90 days is definitely solid if it's a really bad problem. So this is why we tend to do courses that are 2 or 3 months. Okay, Essentially stress management. So again, the other thing I teach nearly all my clients is some kind of self-regulation skill. I'm doing that within the context of co-regulation. If you can connect that to a higher power, meaning, spirituality, and do some theo-regulation, I made that word up, you wouldn't have heard it before, that's fantastic. Virginia's happy because it's a bit Greek sounding, isn't it? Virginia, she tells me how to sound clever by making things Greek. It's just pure pretense. Okay. Reframing love. This is really important that you're reframing it cognitively and then in an embodied way that it's more loving to say no. This is the key takeaway for most of you fucking nice people. All right? The key takeaway. Everyone got it? Tattoo it on your head now. Okay. How do we tattoo things on us? We don't do it on our heads with ink. We do it through the body. Yeah? So let's all just do a little practice today. Touch your heart. Think of someone who makes you smile, who you adore. Maybe say their name out loud and then say in your first language, no. Everyone do that? Actually do it. You won't learn from just listening to me. Touch your heart. Think of someone you love. Bring them to mind, maybe their voice, maybe hugging them. I think you're my niece or my girlfriend. And then say no. So we're making the connection. This is classical conditioning through the body. Yeah. Do that 1,000 times, you'll be fine. Okay. Do that 1,000 times. Yeah. Do that every day for 1 minute for 2 months, you will change. If there was a magic bullet I can give you all, 1, I wouldn't, I'd be selling it. Okay. And 2, I'd be a lot richer. There's no magic single bullet, but there is simple things like this with a little bit of practice. Not a lot of practice even, just a couple of months. Everyone got like 1 minute a day spare? Yeah, it's not so heavy. You do have to remember, so you might want to write it down. You can all take that away today if you want a simple practice and you can't afford to study with us. Much better to come to a group and be reminded and encouraged. But if you can't afford that, this is an option. Okay. So self-care is another one I do to connect people to know as a loving act. That's another one of our poses. These are the 26 poses. If you're a facilitator, you do want to learn these. Trust me, if you're a facilitator, this will give you a really simple system of embodiment. We used to call it embodied yoga principles. Now we call it an embodied toolkit. This is an old graphic. We have tried and tested these in many countries, in many cultures. They're archetypal, universal. As a coach, it gives you a simple set of embodied practices. If you're a master embodied coach, you maybe don't need these because you can do them yourself. You know them already, right? But if you're not an absolute master, and even me, I was doing embodied coaching for 15 years. When I created these, it took me 2 years with a whole group of teachers. Why? Because I have blind spots. Like vulnerability pose is not the first one I invented. Yeah? It wasn't until I was in a yoga class and I was like, oh, how do I feel? Why do I feel that? Yeah. I was noticing it was in yoga classes and I was like, oh, it's warrior pose for a reason, right? And then I started to go, yeah, but yoga doesn't have joker pose, right? Like sometimes like what child's pose is more like surrender actually. I started noticing some were misnamed. A lot were pretty good. Some are from martial arts. There's one from Aikido, one from karate. Sensuality pose, that we took from tango actually. So there's a whole body of work. There's a whole lot of teachers who would get together several times a year and say, well, actually, in my culture, blah, 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 and they'd get rid of my bias. So the system is pretty awesome. And if you're a trainer, I would recommend it. Maybe Virginia has a link. But there's a book as well, just a new book out. Yeah, this is in Russia. This is in New York. We did this around the world. And this is blind footballers doing the pose. Right? So this is how deep it is. Footballers who have never seen when they score a goal will do this. Yeah? Because it's that deep in our bodies. It's not cultural. Every football team in the world. I watched the blind World Cup. They all fucking do it. Okay? That's just one example that's easy to see. Okay, so we've got a bunch of self-care there at the bottom. There's variations, right? Like Vidyadasa is bottom right. He's one of the teachers. He's doing a variation, sometimes like bigger people or people with bigger boobs. They use that version. So it doesn't have to be exactly the same. Obviously, when we train you, we can take you through some of the variations. Like no pose with the fist is really good for some people, but you could also do it with the hand on the heart. Or I was working with a Buddhist group and we did it with the hand open because the fist was like a bit aggressive, for them. So this is the kind of thing we teach you. And the poses are exact. If you do them as a coach, just thinking, oh yeah, I saw Mark do it once, you will fuck it up. Okay. And over time, you'll fuck it up more and more and more because your own neurotic patterns will set in. So there is a certain exactness to what we're doing. It's not just pulling it out of our ass. Yeah, okay, so various, yeah. Also, once you understand the poses, you can incorporate them into other things, like a chaturanga or a bench press. My friend Big Tommy is exactly the same as a no pose. Well, not exactly, but more or less. Okay, we can also look at bigger practices like karate or Thai boxing and incorporate the feeling of it into something else. So this is what embodied coaching looks like. It could look like doing a pose. It could look like sending someone to a practice or incorporating it into their yoga. So they really get that when they're doing their, sun salutations in the morning. We talked about micro practices like applied to life, right? So not really an embodied practice, but it's one of the things I do as a coach is I help people find places in their life where they can practice easy things. Yeah. And I always say, if, hey, grandmother's dinner and mums and things like that are advanced, that takes 6 to 8 weeks. Spotting manipulation, I talked about. You can get better and better at this. If you're someone who has a sort of weak no or is developing their no, really helpful to get to become aware of the ways people will try and get around you. For me, someone like me, it's less necessary. Someone like, I don't know, Jody, you're pretty nice, right? Like, it's really helpful for someone like Jody. She's a lovely person, but a bit too nice for her to get, really realize, like, oh shit. And this doesn't have to be vicious, right? Like, it could be her, like, grandchildren looking up in her eyes and using some, grandchild voice. Yeah. It doesn't have to be like bad people. Okay. Another key one I'd say for knowing boundaries is knowing what you really care about. So getting in touch with life purpose, what you really love, is so important. Because once you know, like, this is why my no is so good, right? My no is really good. A, because I've done loads of somatic practices like martial arts, which are really good at it. But the main one is I'm really in touch with what I care about. So I know that every time someone asks me to do something that's not that, they are taking my time away from, the work God has given me. And that's not acceptable. All right, that's not acceptable to me. Yeah, even if I kind of want to help and blah, blah, blah. Okay, talking about stress management. I'm going to coach someone soon. You'll see essentially what I'm doing is stress management, right? Bit of conditioning, bit of embodiment, bit of stress management. This is a game we played yesterday. We won't play it again, but it's lots of fun. It's actually giving voice to that part of yourself that's like, you're a bad person if you say no. So you can hear that part of yourself and then say, no, thank you. That's crazy. All right, we played that game yesterday afternoon. This is the other tool I teach nearly all my clients. Let's do this together now. Think of someone you need to say no to, no one traumatic, and notice the body. Is there a bit of a stress response? There a bit of a shutdown, a tension, breath changing? Almost certainly because you're a normal human. All right, so let's see if we can't take 50% of that away. Give it a score from 1 to 10 right now. How stressed does it make? Maybe it's just a 5, right? Okay, now, assuming you're not driving like Isabel, put your feet flat on the floor. Driving's fine, by the way. I just didn't want to hit the accelerator as well. Feet flat on the floor. Let your bum be as big as possible in the chair. Have a massive relaxed butt. Be proud of your big relaxed butt. Be a little heavier. You can visualize roots or being made of something dense and heavy. Relax the belly. If you don't know how to relax the belly, tense the belly and then let that go. Tense it and then let it go and then let it go again. Relax the eyes, the mouth. Do this with the eyes open because we want to transfer it to the next time you're with this person, and you'll look like a hippie with your eyes closed, won't you? Yes. So relaxing the peripheral vision, the mouth, softening the jaw, saying, ah. Aware balance, balance posture, core relax. We can add a bonus C of connected. Think of who wants you to be well, who supports you from the past, the present. And then I want you to bring to mind this person you need to say no to again. Does it feel a little bit more manageable now? Yeah, a little bit more manageable. Good. So what was your stress score before? What did you manage to reduce it to in the space of 1 minute? Let's say you had a meeting with your boss and you knew this was going to be a difficult meeting and you had to say no to them giving you extra tasks sort of out of your job description. Yeah. Anyone give me a wave if you've got some reduction in your stress? Maybe not total. Yeah, nearly everyone does, right? It's not fucking rocket science. Okay. So as a coach, why would you not do this? It's very rare as a coach. I want to stress my coachee out. I mean, sometimes if I want to like motivate them or they're a bit shut down, but nearly always coachees come stressed. And then they start talking about their problems and they get more stressed, right? I mean, the modern world is stressful. It's totally dysregulating. We live in a dysregulated culture. And then problems make you more stressed. When you're stressed, however, you cannot think straight. The other thing that happens when you're stressed is you get less kind. That's why some of you girls are mean when you're on your period or if you're in pain for some other reason. Okay? Yeah, you get less ethical, don't you? You get meaner. No, I don't. That's what I'm talking about. Okay? And this is true for me if I'm hungry. This is true if you're, I used to have sciatica and I was in pain a lot. And it was hard to be a nice person when you're in shooting agony the whole time, right? It's possible, but it's harder. So we want someone to be kind to themselves in coaching. Nearly always, my clients are like way judgmental on themselves. They're nearly always too hard on themselves, and it just doesn't help. You've heard me say before, you can't hate yourself better. Yeah? Okay. So helping people relax makes them kinder, but also just like smarter. When do you have your best ideas? When do you have your best ideas? In what location do you have your best ideas? I bet I can guess. Let me guess. The best location. Think of it now. Everyone thinking about it. Let me check my psychic powers. Is it in the shower, the bath, walking in nature? I bet that's like 80% of you. Yeah. Some people, it's like relaxing, driving in the car. For French people, it's in bed for some reason. I guess that's where they relax. I did this in France once. They said in bed. Yeah. Occasionally it's different, but like 80% of people, it's one of those things. Walking in nature, relaxing in the shower. Why? You're in your body, you're relaxed. It's hard not to relax in a hot shower, right? It's hard not to relax walking in the woods. So yeah, toilet is another classic. Taking a shit, you have to relax, right? You literally have to relax. I've got a slide with this on, with the toilet on. Yeah. So that's the third most common one, actually, the toilet. Yeah. So you're in your body, you're feeling your body, feels good. So you want to feel your body because you want to feel your body when it feels good, right? Taking a poo feels good. Yeah. Okay. For most people, I mean, I know there's exceptions. I had a particularly nasty curry last night. Let's not think about that. Okay. What was I doing? So centering clients is good. This is the first tool you learn on our coaching courses. All right. Helping people differentiate what aggressive feels like compared to assertive. Nice people will not be assertive if they think it's the same as being aggressive. Do I need to repeat that? Nice people will not be assertive if they have no distinction. We call this distinction coaching in somatics. No distinction between being assertive and being aggressive. Do these words make sense in your language? Yeah, so assertive means appropriately boundaried. You can be over boundaried as well. And over boundaried means the love doesn't get in. So if the love doesn't get in, they don't want to do it because you love, right? Okay, so you need to understand that distinction, not just cognitively, but in the body. So one of the things we do is like a scaled practice. What's too much? What's too little? You can go, oh shit, I've now got a third option. Yeah, you know the Spice Girls song, two become one? This is the opposite. One becomes two. Okay, you go, oh shit, I can now have assertiveness and aggressiveness, and I don't want to do aggressiveness, but I do want to do this. Yeah, otherwise you've got a shitty choice, haven't you? Okay, guilt we looked at yesterday, various techniques for working that as a coach. I find one of the best ones, we have a negativity bias, which turns on ourselves, but we have another neurological system, which is the pro-social bias for others. Okay, so because if you engage the pro-social system neurologically on them, but then turn it back on themselves, it's like, what would you tell a friend? Does that make sense? We're generally nicer to our friends than we are to ourselves, basically. So you just kind of boop, flip that. It's a classic. It's kind of a classic. There's various Buddhist teachers who use it, neurologists I've heard talk about it, neuroscientists. All right, again, this last one I didn't teach yesterday is kind of interesting. When you say no, this sounds like I'm joking, but I'm not. Notice you didn't die. Okay, so if you have trauma around no, you will regard saying no as existentially threatening because maybe it was once in your life, in your childhood or something, right? So what's the important thing? When you say no, to go, oh, look, I didn't die. They didn't die. In fact, they don't hate me even. Does that make sense? Now, this sounds silly, but we have to recognize it. So trauma is kind of a memory problem. And one of the ways we can deal with it is completing the loop, right? So rather than getting stuck at this is existentially threatening, you retrain yourself by going, oh, look, you didn't die. So one of the things I do as a coach is I'll say to them, like, gee, okay, so you said no to your partner, and then what happened? And they go, oh, nothing. Right? Or, oh, maybe they got a bit grumpy and then nothing. Right? Do you see what I mean? So like actually clocking, like consciously going, oh, I didn't die, they didn't die. And the next time you do it, you feel 1% safer. So it makes, yeah, sounds ridiculous, is important. Yeah, San, you like that one? Mwah, mwah. Can I get a chef's kiss? Mwah, for that one. Can I get a nipple flick? Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay. You can flick your nipples if you want, but it's none of my business. I don't want to be involved in that shit. Okay. So, by the way, totally not trauma sensitive at our workshops. Our workshops are not a safe space. They're an ethical space. They're a safe enough place, but they are not a safe place. All right. You're going to be challenged. There's going to be jokes. There's going to be adult stories. We're going to talk about sex. We're going to swear. Totally not a safe space. Do not bring your children to my trainings. Yeah, this is not a child friendly. This is for grown-ups. You all grown-ass adults? Can we talk about grown-ass adult stuff? All still got a sense of humor, or did you lose that during the woke years? Hey, remember the woke years, Virginia? They're over now. Woo! Okay. You can have fun again, guys. It's going to be fine. All righty. So, scale practice is what we work with coaches. I increase their window of tolerance, trauma terminology, or their window of play, coaching terminology, window of learning. I add pressure. I don't want a safe space, right? I want a dangerous enough space that they can practice. You know, I want to actually make the space a little challenging for them, not unethical, not abusive, always consent, always calibration. Consent, calibration, calibration. I'm giving you like a whole coach training for 3 and 30 minutes. This is fucking ridiculous. Pay us some money already. My team keep telling me, stop giving them everything for free. Don't give them everything. But all right. So reminders, it's not rude. It's actually kind to say no. You're rejecting the offer, not the person. Or another way of looking at it is you're choosing yourself, not the offer. Yeah? You don't owe anyone your body, your time, or your energy. Got it? Do you fucking get that? How would you sit in your chair right now if you got that? You don't owe me shit. Yeah? I remember I talked to this Russian girl once. It was years ago. I was in Bulgaria, and I used my best Russian. I said, "Izvanichi," I sort of introduced myself, and she just looked at me and looked away, and I was like crushed by it. And I remember thinking, you know what? It's actually her right. She doesn't owe me her time. I'm just some guy who's actually in a burger restaurant. I was like, she doesn't owe me her time, And like, I mean, maybe some manners would be nice, but that's a bonus, right? I really got it that day. I was like, she doesn't have to say hello to me. Okay, role models. Who is your role model for no? Could be a historical factor, could be cats, could be a goddess, could be Xena warrior princess. Some people it's me. I think definitely me and Helen are really good role models because we're so different, kind of more masculine, feminine, yin and yang. So some people, it's why we often have other teachers like Patricia and Christina on courses, because one of the ways you learn embodiment, and this is how kids are enculturated, right, is through role modeling. You don't learn embodiment through talking about it. You learn through practice, immersion, and community, role modeling included in that. That's it. That's how you learn. So if you want to learn a better no, it's not about, you can read my book on people pleasing. It won't do shit. You read my book and practice in a community, prefer a role model, okay, and be immersed around people that can say no. They're the ways you learn embodiment. One of those 3. So friends do help. Have you got a friend who's got good boundaries that you can copy? Often what we do is when we have you don't have any friends with good boundaries, it may be cultural. It have to be someone from the television. If you've got one friend with good boundaries, instead of going, they're amazing, actually ask yourself, how can I do what they do? Yeah, actually learn from them, model them, don't just idealize them. Yeah. All right, I'm going to have to go a little bit longer than I thought I would. So linguistic stuff, I think this is really helpful, is having some linguistic tricks, right? Saying, I don't do that, just really clear. Using humor can be really helpful for boundaries because you can do it with a smile, right? I would totally do that if there was 5 of me. Yeah. Yeah. I would love to go on a date with you, but I'm not gay. But if I was gay, I would have better shoes. I would be better dressed. I would love to be gay. I'm just not gay, right? Like it's using humor as a way to say no. So helpful. Counter offers are good, like saying I won't do X, but I will do Y. That still though, there's not always. It's not like I'm going to let you half kill me, right? Sometimes it's not actually great. I'm going to let you take half my money. Literally practice. Like if you're not practicing with us in a group, and this is one of the things we do in a group, so you breakouts where you practice, you actually start practicing the exact words you'll say in your first language, right? This is just a no-brainer. Pushy people technique, repeat the no, embody it, power of silence, and then if you need to, threaten. That's not your first point of call, obviously. No, I won't read you another story, Jessica. Yeah, you don't have to, there's a scale here. This again is another thing we practice. That's a skill. I'll teach that on my courses. Various free resources out there, but I've already given you way more than enough. Okay, you got 10 minutes for me to do a little coaching session with someone? A little coaching session? A little coaching session? I don't want to learn to have better no. We're not going to do like trauma work today, but anyone feel like they want to have a little practice of saying no and I can help you out now? Where are you in the world?
I'm in Ireland. Can you hear me?
I can indeed. Where in Ireland?
I'm in Kerry in the southwest.
Beautiful part of Ireland. My family are from Cork. I have the passport. Thank you, Grandad. It means I can live in Europe. So all the love to Ireland. Yeah, and there's cultural stuff there I'm familiar with. How do you feel right now?
Um, a little nervous,
A
but
little nervous.
excited. Yeah.
Excited and
So
nervous. So not too bad. Huh? You look a little nervous, but not too much. Tell you what, why don't we just take a couple of deep breaths together to begin? Yeah. Ah, letting the awareness come down, softening the mouth, the belly, breathing a little deeper into the body. Okay, I'm going to ask you how I can help because we're both Irish, just in one sentence. How can I help?
saying no to a boss that's manipulative, that
Okay.
they don't like you taking holidays. But
Okay.
I do like taking my legal
Your
holidays.
legal entitlement to holidays. Yeah, yeah. As a boss who doesn't like his employees, I'm probably on his side though, okay? So his or her, who are we talking about? We don't need to name them. Can we give them a stand-in name? Bob or Susan or something?
Well, I've had it in a few different jobs,
Oh, okay.
so we'll call them Mary, a good Irish name.
Mary, good. That's a good Irish
Yeah.
name, Mary. Okay, excellent. Okay. So when you think about standing up to Mary, what do you do in your body?
Uh, I think of fear, a lot of heat comes up with standing up to authority.
Yeah, yeah. And I just, first of all, just want to say that's totally natural. We're not taught to stand up to authority, right? In school, I mean, young. So just like, first of all, like, it's difficult for everyone to stand up to authority, even me. And I'm like teaching this stuff, right? So, like, I just want to normalize that, first of all. It'd be strange if you could just talk to your boss and, didn't care, Okay. And where in your body do you feel the tension around that fear?
I think right up through my core, my torso,
Through the
maybe.
core? Okay. Is it
A
possible
bit
to
here.
make that tension a bit more worse, like tense that core a bit more? Does that make sense? Yeah, like right now, if you're
Yeah,
happy to. Yeah, so
yeah.
really tense it and then release it. Say ah, ah,
Ah,
great. And I notice you're sort of round your shoulders a little bit. Is it possible to kind of be a bit wider? Does that make sense? Like how Americans are. They take up space. Yeah, that's it. I like to smile, taking up a bit more space, relaxing the core, soften the eyes. And who's a really supportive person in your life, alive or dead? Someone who really wants you to be well and take good holidays.
I would think some of the coaches on YouTube that I follow that
Yeah,
have
okay.
really
So
good
some
boundaries.
some coaches you follow. If you imagine them just gently putting their hands on your back and encouraging and maybe almost lean into that. Yeah. And if you've got a table in front of you you can push on,
I have like a little stool, yeah.
yeah, can you give that a little push? Just feel that strength in your arms like you were doing a press up, like a little push. We won't do the full pose, but a little push. Okay, and then take your arms again to your side and see if you can keep the feeling of that little push. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, there's this quality in your body of that little push away, right? And still taking space all around, relaxing the core. That's it. Good work. Good work. Okay, good. And when you think about this with the boss now, how does it feel now? Same, bit easier, harder? Which way does it feel
No,
better?
a bit easier, but I feel so open now. It feels a little vulnerable.
Yeah, yeah, it feels a bit, it
Like my
is a bit vulnerable, right?
defenses
Because
are
this is your
down.
safety pattern, right? To kind of curl
Yeah.
up, which is normal.
I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
so good. Which person is more likely to be abused? This person or this person?
I
Look at
guess
me.
this one looks like she won't be messed with,
Okay,
even
right.
if she feels vulnerable. They don't know
Fuck.
that.
So when you're in this pose, and maybe use the first person this time, you might feel vulnerable, but you look less like someone like I feel like I can abuse you less. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit more warrior woman, a bit more. What's the kind of
Mm.
archetype for you of this? Does it remind you of an animal or a TV star or some kind of archetype that might be helpful?
Yeah, like maybe some of the female superheroes or something like you,
Okay.
or like one of the female goddesses in Buddhism. That's just
Okay,
like,
with the
I
sword or
love you as
whatever.
long as you don't mess with me, kind of.
Okay, got it, got it, got it. Whatever works for you. That's great. That's great. And instead the pressure, what's the kind of thing I would be saying? Let's do just a little practice, right? Nothing magic, just a bit of practice. What's the kind of thing I'd say, like if we were doing a simulation of this?
What they would say or what I would say,
What
or
they
both.
would say. So I need to know what to say to
Maybe
add a bit of pressure.
um let's say to a round example would be like, oh, we don't have many staff that week, and is there any chance
Oh, so
you'd
so
be
it's
able
not
to
like
swap
aggressive,
and
it's a bit manipulative, you said, right?
yeah, or like yeah,
Okay, put your
like
feet on the floor, relax your breath because you're getting stressed just thinking about it. I can see. That's it.
well,
Good work. Yeah, you are a little bit. You're doing great though. You're doing great. And then, yeah, we don't have many staff. It would be great if you maybe couldn't go on holiday. And I mean, I know it's your legal right, but keep breathing. What are you gonna say?
I wish I could help you, and I need to take those holidays because I have plans. But that's kind of, maybe you don't have plans.
Already too much. Just say no. I'm taking my legally entitled holiday.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a little scary, huh? So breathe.
no, I'm taking my legally entitled holidays. Is that a bit too hardcore? No,
Well, we want to be
no.
firm, right? So, I mean, is there
Yeah,
another way of saying
yeah.
that? I mean, this is true, right? You have a legal
I'm
right for
taking
this. Is
my
that true?
annual leave or
I'm taking
my
my annual
my
leave.
yeah, yeah, I'm taking my annual leave as
How about
planned.
this? My entitled annual leave, because it's
Ah,
already been promised, right? This is not a
yes,
discussion.
my entitled annual leave sounds a little bit
A little bit
less
firmer. I'm
aggressive.
trying to find that sweet spot that's firm, but it's
Yeah,
not going to overwhelm you, right? Yeah.
yeah.
So one more time.
No, I'm
Keep
taking my
breathing,
entitled annual leave.
and then pause. Breathe. No explanation. Remember the archetypes or the hands on your back. Might be scary, but this is where you pause. Okay, and if I say please, but what about it? Just say it again. Repeat the message.
No, I'm going to take my annual leave, my entitled annual leave.
That's it. And you can be nice. You can say, "Hey, I know you really want to staff the place. I totally appreciate that." And then say the same thing again. And I'm taking my entitled annual leave.
I appreciate you might be low on staff, but I'm drop the butt and I'm going to take my entitled annual leave. So
Great.
I'm going to say no.
Full fucking stop.
Stop.
Good. Mwah! Can we give us some love, everyone? And that's not easy. It's not easy for Julianne here. All right. How was that?
Good. And I realize how over I much I explain. It's like the stop is hard. Like say no more.
Yeah, 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 exactly. So now you become aware of the habit, right? You become aware of the habit. And remember, put your hand on your heart. Put your hand on your heart. Okay, give yourself a little hug, maybe. Yeah. This is to take care of you. All right. This is a loving act. You're saying no because everyone fucking deserves a holiday and you'll burn out without it. It's actually in their best interest. It's in your best interest. This is a kind, loving thing you're doing. And now, if you actually, I'm going to push your time in more. If you actually believed that this was a loving act and you were really allowed to take a break, There we go. Maybe letting go, saying, letting go a little bit of some old views about it, some people pleasing stuff, taking an out breath and just letting go. All right. I am so proud of you. I don't know you, but I love you already. How was that? Any final things before we wrap up?
Great. Thank you.
You're so
Just to
welcome.
practice.
Yeah. This is the last thing I would say as an embodiment coach. Practice that. Okay, write down what we did, the hug, okay, the table push, and the actual statement. And then if you've got like a partner or a friend you can work with, if you don't have a coach, actually get them to be like Mary, right? Sweet Jesus, Mary, Mother of God, making you not take any holiday. What is she thinking of? Okay, we'll leave it there. Julianne,
Thank
thank
you.
you
Thanks so
so
much.
much.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers all.